So, as this alliance between the seven Frankists and the British Empire is growing, there's certain individuals that become these meeting points of these two different groups, okay? So let's discuss two of them. The first is Benjamin Disraeli. And it's important because he becomes the first and only Jewish prime minister of the British Empire, okay? My second person is Lionel de Rothschild, who is here to the Rothschild banking family. They're best friends, and you could argue the Rothschild banking family financed Benjamin Disraeli's banking career, okay? And in 1844, Benjamin Disraeli will publish a book called Coningsby. It's a novel, okay? It's not a memoir, but it's a novel. But if you read it, people will say that the characters are very much based on people that Disraeli knows. And Disraeli is very explicit in telling us why he wrote the book. And the idea is to tell the British people more about Jews, because Jews right now in history in Britain, they're an exotic species. And it's also to establish how Jews think. Now, what's amazing about this novel is that you read it, and it's really strange, but it conforms to every single anti-Semitic stereotype that we say today. Today, you say that Jews rule the world. You say that Jews work together, they conspire together. You say that Jews think that they're superior to everyone else. You are labeled as an anti-Semite, okay? But if you read this novel, and we'll read this novel together, this is exactly what Benjamin Disraeli says, okay, about the Jewish people. All right, so let's read it together. Okay, so Amber, can you read, please? This is the introduction to the book Coningsby. Okay.
In asserting the paramount character of the what is it?
Keep going.
Okay. Polity and the majesty of the theocratic principle, it became necessary to ascend to the origin of the Christian Church and to meet in a spirit worthy of a critical and comparatively enlightened age the position of the descendants of that race who were the founders of Christianity. The modern Jews had long labored under the odium and stigma of medieval malevolence.
Okay, so what we're saying is this. Christianity is a great religion, but it's important that we look at the origins of Christianity and who founded Christianity, okay? Which is the Jews. We know it's the Jews who created Christianity, okay? Okay, keep on going.
In the Dark Ages, when history was unknown, the passions of societies, undisturbed by traditionary experience, were strong, and their convictions, unmitigated by criticism, were necessarily fanatical.
So during the Dark Ages, everyone was just stupid, okay? Keep on going.
The Jews were looked upon in the Middle Ages as an accursed race, the enemies of God and man, the especial foes of Christianity. No one in those days paused to reflect that Christianity was founded by the Jews, that its divine author, in his human capacity, was a descendant of King David.
Okay, divine author, of course, is Jesus, okay? Keep on going.
That his doctrines avowedly were the completion, not the change, of Judaism, that the apostles and the evangelists whose names men daily invoked and whose volumes they embraced with reverence were all Jews, that the infallible throne of Rome itself was established by a Jew, and that a Jew was the founder of the Christian churches of Asia.
So this really is not just saying that Jews are important, but he's also saying that Jews are superior because they're the ones who created Christianity. And what he will say later on is Jews created everything because Jews are the most intellectually creative people in the world, okay? And remember, Disraeli is a Jew, and he's one of the Jewish elite, okay? All right, let's keep on going. All right, so in the novel, the major character is Sidonia, who is a wealthy Jewish person based on the Rothschild family, okay? And he's going to explain to us how Jews control the world. All right, can you read, Alan?
Yeah, okay.
Sidonia
was descended from a very ancient and noble family of Aragon.
Okay, Aragon is in Spain. Okay, so we discussed how before, for 100 years, the Jews were part of the Spanish Muslim Empire, but when they were reconquered, they were forced to leave or convert. Keep on going.
That in the course of ages had given to the state many distinguished citizens. In the priesthood, its member had been peculiarly eminent. Besides several prelates, they counted among their numbers an archbishop of Toledo and a Sidonia. In a season of great danger and difficulty, had exercised for a series of years the paramount office of Grand Inquisitor.
Okay, so even after the Christians reconquered Spain, and after some Jews converted to Catholicism, okay, first of all, these Jews kept their faith secret. So even though on the outside they were Catholics, in the inside they were still Jews. Okay, they were crypto Jews. But much more importantly, these Jews rose to supreme power within the Catholic Church in Spain. The irony is that the Spanish Inquisition, where Catholics were looking for Jews who were pretending to be Christians, the leadership were Jews. The leadership were crypto Jews, okay? This is what this really is saying. I'm not saying this is true, but this is what this really is saying, okay? Keep on going.
Yet, strange as it may sound, it is nevertheless a fact, of which there is no lack of evidence, that these illustrious family during all this period, in common with 2/3 of the Aragonese nobility, secretly adhered to the ancient faith and ceremonies of their fathers, a belief in the unity of the God of Sinai, and the rites and observances of the laws of Moses.
Okay, so guys, 2/3 of nobility in Spain were crypto Jews. Catholics disguised, Jews disguised as Catholics, okay? All right. So again, I'm not saying this is true, but it's striking and really strange that a Jewish man who's very powerful, who will become Prime Minister of England, he's writing this stuff, okay? He's putting in the mouth of basically a Rothschild. Okay, can you read, Amber?
The Sidonias of Aragon were
New Christians.
Were Nouveau Cristianos. Some of them, no doubt, were burned alive at the end of the 15th century under the system of Torquemada. Many of them, doubtless, were the San Benito, but they kept their titles and estates, and in time reached those great offices to which we have referred. During the long disorders of the Peninsular War, when so many openings were offered to talent and so many opportunities seized by the adventurous, a cadet of younger branch of this family made a large fortune by military contracts and supplying the commissariat of the different armies. At the peace prescient of the great financial future of Europe, confident in the fertility of his own genius, in his original views of fiscal subjects, and his knowledge of national resources, this Sidonia, feeling that Madrid or even Cadiz could never be a base on which the monetary transactions of the world could be regulated, resolved to emigrate to England, with which he had, in the course of years, formed considerable commercial connections. He arrived here after the Peace of Paris with his large capital. He staked all he was worth on the Waterloo loan, and the event made him one of the greatest capitalists in Europe.
Okay, so these crypto Jews, they had a lot of money, but not only that, but they have an information network, okay? Because they have relatives, friends all throughout Europe. And they are intellectually superior, and so they know how history will develop. And they see a great money-making opportunity in war. So when these wars come out, what these Jews do is they support both sides, so they can't possibly lose. And then they make a lot of money, and then they figure out where it is in the most advantage to be. So they have absolutely no national loyalty. They don't see themselves as belonging to a certain group of people, a certain nation. They see themselves as first and foremost Jews. Okay, so when the time presented itself properly, these Sidonians, they will migrate, some of them, not all of them, will migrate from Spain into continental Europe and up to England because they saw England as the future. And of course, from England, they will also migrate to the United States of America. Okay. Alan, can you read, please?
The only human quality.
So the father goes to England and now he establishes the banking dynasty, and his son will now inherit everything. Okay, and so this is about the son. Keep on going.
Yeah. The only human quality that interested Sidonia was intellect. He cared not whence it came, where it was to be found. Creed, country, class, character, in this respect were alike indifferent to him.
Okay, so again, this is a very anti-Semitic trope where Jews don't like the idea of nation or culture or religion. They like the idea of ideas. Okay, and one anti-Semitic trope is that Jews have a conspiracy to degrade religion, culture, society, nation state in order to advance their own interests. Okay, keep on going.
The author, the artist, the man of science never appealed to him in vain. Often he anticipated their wants and wishes. He encouraged their society, was as frank in his conversation as he was generous in his contributions. But the instant they ceased to be authors, artists, or philosophers, and their communications arose from anything but the intellectual quality which had originally interested him, the moment they were rash enough to approach intimacy and appeal to the sympathizing man instead of the congenial intelligence, he saw them no more.
Okay, so this is a really important idea where, again, this is propaganda for Jews, right? So this really is saying how great Jews are. Jews are intellectual. But you know what Friedrich Hegel will say is that, well, culture, there can be no great ideas. Okay? Ideas emerge from community, from culture, from belonging. Okay, so think of Homer, or Dante, or even the Yahwehs, okay? If you think that you are intellectual above culture, above nation, above people, you will not produce great ideas. Okay, keep on going.
It was not, however, intellect merely in these unquestionable shapes that commanded his notice. There was not an adventurer in Europe with whom he was not familiar. No minister of state has such communication with secret agents and political spies as Sidonia. He held relations with all the clever outcasts of the world. The catalogue of his acquaintance in the shape of Greeks, Armenians, Moors, secret Jews, Tartans, Geese.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, look, the idea is that Jews are international, first and foremost international. They're cosmopolitan, right? And as a result, what will happen is that over time, because he is in contact with so many different groups, he's so intellectual, he's always reading his history, he comes convinced that the superior race, the greatest race of humanity are the Jews. Why? Because unlike other races, the Jews refuse to intermarry. They refuse to breed with other cultures. And so as a result, the Jews are first and foremost pure. They are Aryan. Okay, this is really ironic again because the Nazis will use this idea 100 years later to justify the Holocaust. But at this time in history, the Jews think that they are the superior race because they are the most pure, okay? So this is all that is saying. All right, can you read, Amber?
In this country, says Sidonia.
So this country, of course, is England, right?
Since the peace, there has been an attempt to advocate a reconstruction of society on a purely rational basis. The principle of utility has been powerfully developed. I speak not with lightness of the labors of the disciples of that school. I bow to intellect in every form, and we should be grateful to any school of philosophers, even if we disagree with them. Doubtly grateful in this country, where for so long a period of our statesmen were in so pitiable an arrear of public intelligence. There has been an attempt to reconstruct society on a basis of material motives and calculations.
Okay, so again, this is the idea of utilitarianism, right? This is Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill. Keep on going.
It has failed. It must ultimately have failed under any circumstances. Its failure in an ancient and densely peopled kingdom was inevitable. How limited is human reason, the profoundest inquirers are most conscious. We are not in debt to the reason of man for any of the great achievements, which are the landmarks of human action and human progress. It was not reason to be besieged Troy. It was not reason that sent forth the Saracen from the desert to conquer the world.
Okay, so the Saracens are the Muslims, okay? Keep on going.
That inspired the Crusades, that instituted the monastic orders. It was not reason that produced the Jesuits. Above all, it was not reason that created the French Revolution. Man is only truly great when he acts from the passion. Never irresistible, but when he appeals to the imagination. Even Mormons count more votaries than Bentham. And you think then that an imagination once subdued the state, imagination may now save it. Man is made to adore and to obey. But if you will not command him, if you give him nothing to worship, he will fashion his own divinities and find a chieftain in his own passions.
So, Sidonia is emphasizing the limitations of British philosophy, right? Locke, Hume, Bentham, Mill, they're all limited. And so what the British need is for the Jews, with their imagination, with their religion, to save the British, to lead the British, to guide the British. Okay, does that make sense? So again, this is trying to establish Jewish supremacy. Okay, all right, this is much too long, okay? But what he's really saying is, like, listen, we Jews, we want to be part of society. We are naturally conservative, but we also want to practice our religion. So if you, at any point, if you, the British, at any point, try to restrain us, if you try to take away our religious rights, we will rebel against you. We are cohesive. We will stand up for liberalism. We will stand up for secularism. We will stand up for individualism, because these three philosophies are what most protect us from religious overreach. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what he's saying. So Alan, can you start here? You never observe.
Yeah. You never observe a great intellectual movement in Europe in which the Jews do not greatly participate. The first Jesuits were Jews.
This is true, okay, guys. The secret intelligence agency of the Catholic Church were first Jews. This is true. Keep on going.
That mysterious Russian diplomacy which so alarmed Western Europe is organized and principally carried on by Jews.
So the Jews are the agents of the Russian Empire. Keep on going.
That mighty revolution which is at this moment preparing in Germany, and which will be, in fact, a second and greater reformation, and of which so little is as yet known in England, is entirely developing under the auspices of Jews, who almost monopolize the professorial chairs of Germany.
Okay, so this hasn't happened yet. Okay, he's saying this is the year 1844. He's saying, like, the revolution that you will see later on in Germany, we organized it, man. We Jews organized it. Why? Because we control the academies, we control the professorships of Germany. Keep on reading.
Neither the founder of spiritual Christianity, who is Regius Professor of Divinity in the University of Berlin, is a Jew.
Okay, so he keeps on going. Okay, we won't read it. About how many professors are Jews? Okay, do you understand? Now, what's amazing is, again, this came out in 1844 and 1848. There were revolutions throughout Europe, throughout Germany. So how did Disraeli know about this? Well, possibly because the British were helping to finance all of this, right? Remember the alliance between the British and Septine Frankists. All right, can you read, Amber?
Okay,
from here, okay?
A few years back, we were applied to by Russia. Now, there has been no friendship between the court of St. Petersburg and my family. It has Dutch connections, which have generally supplied it, and are representations in favor of the Polish Hebrews, a numerous race, but the most suffering and degraded of all the tribes, have not been very agreeable to the Caesar.
The Tsar. Okay, so what he's saying is, we're very rich and nation states come and look for us for money, okay? So Russia wants a loan from us. We said, no, you mistreat the Jews. So we're not gonna give you any money, okay? The Russians are notorious for being anti-Semitic at this stage. Okay, keep on going.
However, circumstances drew to an approximation between the Romanovs
The Romanovs are the controlling family of Russia.
and the Sidonians. I resolved to go myself to St. Petersburg. I had on my arrival an interview with the Russian Minister of Finance,
Count. Cancrum.
Cancun. I beheld the son of a Lithuanian Jew. The loan was connected with the affairs of Spain. I resolved on repairing to Spain from Russia. I traveled without intermission. I had an audience immediately on my arrival with the Spain minister, Senor Mendizabal. I beheld one like myself, the son of a Nuevo Cristiano, a Jew of Aragon. In consequence of what transpired at Madrid, I went straight to Paris to consult the president of the French Council. I beheld the son of a French Jew, a hero, an imperial marshal, and very appropriately so, for who should be military heroes if not those who worship the Lord of hosts? And is Solute a Hebrew? Yes, and others of the French marshals, and the most famous, Massena, for example. His real name was Manasseh. But to my anecdote, the consequence of our consultations was that some northern powers should be applied to in a friendly and mediative capacity. We fixed on Prussia, and the president of council made an application to the Prussian minister, who attended a few days after our conference. Count Arnim entered the cabinet, and I beheld a Prussian Jew. So you see, my dear
Coningsby,
that the world is governed by a very different personage from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes.
So it's Jews who control the world, because only Jews get along together, okay? So if Jews didn't exist, the world couldn't get along, right? And Jews hide everywhere. And that's how the world works, guys. You think the person in charge is in charge, but actually it's a secret society of Jews. Now, again, I'm not saying this is true. I just find it really weird that Benjamin Disraeli is writing about this, okay? And again, he's getting a lot of this information from the Rothschild banking family. So the Rothschild, for whatever reason, think they control the world, okay? So I don't go much into this in detail, but I will point out that there is evidence that this is true. All right, so we're going to look at the Communist Revolution in Russia together. I also want to keep you in mind that I don't think this is true, actually. There's evidence this is true, but I do not think this is true. Why Disraeli is writing about this, we will discuss next class, okay? But it's all part of a secret plan. All right, but first, let's look at the evidence at this